Welcome to the Great British Pinball Podcast, and here are your hosts Scott Rundell and Neil McRae.
Hey everybody, this is Neil McRae from the Great British Pinball Podcast. This is episode 9, part 2. We had to split the episode up because it was incredibly long. We know how much we all love long episodes, but this is a great episode. We got some great discussion. Scott, together with Colin and Paul, who joined us for a special edition all around TPF. And as with everything in pinball, you start with one topic, you end up with many. Anyway, this is part 2. Part 1 is available on YouTube and on your podcaster, your favourite podcast platform. We hope you enjoyed it. And we kick off with, do you buy a game before you play it? And my advice is no. Anyway, over to Colin. And I'm joined, as per always, with my great friend, Scott Rundell. Thanks, guys. See you soon.
That now, I'll not lay down on anything I haven't played.
Yeah,
I fell victim of that with Cactus Canyon, and that game I got to the wizard mode on day one, and I was like, this is just not worth 10 grand.
I mean,
it's way too easy.
It totally makes sense, everything you all said, but I'm pretty sure we've all done it. Well, we have all done it before, and
we
we're
absolutely
going to do it again. Every single game I've got, I
guarantee you, every person in this view right now is going to buy Back to the Future.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm not. Actually, I'm not.
You will.
No,
you will.
Because it's been built by people with two left hands. So honestly, I don't have. I mean, I get a lot of beatings for this because I'm a bit kind of. I don't have a lot of patience for it. But
do you not think they might announce it at the show? I'm wondering.
They might announce it at the show. I think more likely Chicago, because it's just a bigger, in terms of distributors and sellers. Chicago's just. TPF's kind of more for players and hobbyists. Chicago's a bit more industry focused.
Okay,
the industry's there as well. Most of it is, but I mean it's possible. But to be honest, I don't think they want to announce it then because they're fighting with Jaws to some extent. By the end,
but Jaws is. I wouldn't say it's old news, but it's been out now. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it's going to steal the limelight, is what I'm saying.
But,
it's not like it's been
announced. In Europe, there's maybe like 4 of them. So,
what percentage of, with all great respect to European pinball owners, what percentage of sales is that in comparison to the US?
But for Dutch, it's big for them because
maybe, yeah,
it's instant business for them. You know, they're reliant upon US resellers. And don't get me wrong, the US market's huge for them as well. But I kind of feel that. I also don't think. I mean, you see it from Pulp Fiction. They're lucky because Pulp's such a great game. People have kind of waited for it. If you've got a great game, people will wait. Or as Paul said, if you haven't played it, you take a risk on it. But I would be super surprised unless it's ready to sell soon. I would be super surprised. And the thing is about announcing it, they'll all be tied to the IP of the game. So if they're going to announce it, how are they announcing it? What logo are they using? All that sort of stuff to go through. Do
you not think there will be any surprise announcements at Texas Pinball Festival then?
I don't know. You never know. I keep thinking JGP might do something. I mean, Elton John, apart from the fact I knew about it months ago, but because someone accidentally told me at Elton John's music recording record label, but I think they might. I mean, I think Elton John was a big surprise for folks. Labyrinth was a massive surprise. No one was really expecting that. Fair play to them for keeping it quiet as well. So I don't know. Who knows? I mean, you get some random Joe turning up saying, "Hey, I've started a pinball company." I mean, and that's what happened with Labyrinth, right? And fair play to them. Like they kept their paint dry, and then the game's ready. Boom, let's launch. As opposed to those clowns from where was it? I forget the name of them. That they were building game. They were going to change the world.
You know about the Pun Factory guys? Or...
No, the guy's based in Texas, Robert Mueller and his gang. I forget the name of them. Deep Root.
Oh yeah,
the infamous. Let's face it, giant Ponzi scheme. That turned out to be.
Yeah, the Labyrinth and the Barrels of Fun. That was an impressive launch. but I haven't played it, but it looks like, they really got that for a first game and everything else. I'm really excited to see what they come up with next. I mean, I don't know. I think they've probably got quite a lot of they move into the challenge of fulfillment now, don't they? It's
Yeah.
like, how do you get it all out and get the production line going? And that's their next big thing. But I'd love to see what they come up with next. And I would have, Princess Bride, I think, given how well they did Labyrinth, I would have loved to have seen them tackle Princess Bride. But
I am or I'm not. I'm not. I don't know because I'm not really a fan of the theme. Probably because I just haven't watched the film. If I'm honest with you, so it doesn't hold any nostalgia for me. But he's smiling.
Like
See, every
Labyrinth,
film.
you hadn't watched it. Yeah, this guy hasn't watched
I
any
watched
movies,
Labyrinth.
man.
I love Labyrinth. That's different. But Paul, what's I think it's like might be like Fifth Element is what they might be their next title. What's your
oh,
thoughts on
that would
that?
be good. Yeah, I mean, again, that's a great one. I mean, anything with Bruce Willis, isn't it, is going to be good. But I
Yeah.
mean, Fifth Element has a lot of stuff going for it that would be great. I'd love Die Hard. Man, how good
Oh
would
yeah,
that?
that would be awesome.
Well, if it was going
The
to be
guy
Die
would have
Hard,
to fall out the building.
I was going to say just take the Stern Godzilla. There you go.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
building's
yeah.
good to go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but the lines from Alan Rickman and all of that, it'd just be
Oh, it'd be
fantastic.
awesome.
But yeah, but hey, Fifth Element, I'll take that. That'd be great. So
Is there any game you're particularly wanting to try when you go to Texas?
well, I'm the same as Cole. Quite sort of almost running off of the fumes of last year, really, and the excitement of what that was. And Davey last year, he went. It was a bit last minute, if I remember, and he said,
Yeah.
"Do you fancy coming?" And I was like, I was in two minds, and I was like, no, because things were taking off with Godzilla, and I was, loads of orders, and I didn't go, and I sort of regretted it. So I promised all year, yeah, I'm just going to go, and that's really, where I'm coming from. But same as Cole, I haven't played any of those games. I've got going back to what you guys said about ordering games that you haven't played. I'm down for Pulp, and I haven't played it. I'm in two minds whether I want to because I'm really excited. I love. I mean, the thing for me as well with pinball is that it's art, right? I love looking at, to me, people spend more than a pinball machine on a piece of art to hang on the wall. And to me, I love looking at the art of pinball, and Pulp Fiction is a perfect execution of that. The artwork, I could just look at it and never play it and probably would get my money's worth out of that. Well, okay, not really, but you know what I mean. The sentiment is there.
No,
It
I'm
looks
absolutely with
lovely.
you on that. I mean, I know Cole would disagree with me here because he's going to say you never see them in a lineup, but I love the artwork on the side of a cabinet. I love it. I
Yeah,
just think
yeah.
for me, if the artwork doesn't look good both on the outside and inside of the game, that does affect my buying choice, if I'm honest with you. So I think it's vitally important that they get people like Zombie Yeti and doing the artwork for these games.
Yeah, but they got to get
Uh,
more than him because the risk is in my own lineup. His style is very
Sure.
similar
Yeah,
across all the games,
course.
and they need variety, and that's why I love Pulp. It's different, and when we were talking earlier about Pulp standing out, I think it's partly because they've got such a unique take on it, right? They've
Mm.
got all the assets, they've gone for a retro theme, they've ditched the screen.
Yeah.
It's no ramps. All of that makes it different to Jaws, to everything else, and that means that even a year on, it feels fresh. Even though we're waiting, I'm
Yeah.
still more excited to play that than I am Jaws because Jaws I know is going to be a little bit similar to Godzilla, a little bit similar to Jurassic Park, and all the rest of it. No matter how good it will be, whereas I don't know what to expect from Pulp. I know it's going to be a bit brutal, maybe a bit more in keeping with TNA, which I love. So I'm excited. So I don't know if I'm even going to play it at TPF, but I probably
I
will.
know
But the
you're
games,
Got to try.
definitely gonna play it, mate. You're definitely when you walk by. I mean,
yeah.
when you walk by and you kind of just hear one of those lines, the way that they've just, someone bangs a game and the warning's like, "Hey, we're going to be cool." They've just. It's hard to figure out how they could have done a better job. They've just done such a great job and that the fact that Tarantino's been involved in the design of the game clearly shows, and when they've had access to all those assets, well, a difference to me. But I do think you're right about the way that they've done the trim and just the little details has kind of put it almost in a league of its own. Bond 60th. I'm a big Bond nut, so I bought that game. And when I compare it to Pulp Fiction, and it's half the price as well, which is also painful. But I kind of wish Hayston, if you just done a little bit like that, it wouldn't have cost you that much more money. but you'd have a game that truly does stand out. As you know,
Yeah.
okay, the reels are a bit kind of different, but it doesn't stand out in the way that I think Pulp Fiction is going to stand out for a very long time. But you're right. I mean, I just the frustration of how long it takes to get that game over here is driving me mad, because actually there's a bunch of guys tonight at Alan Adair's house. So Phil, you know, Alan's had a lot of challenges getting his Cactus Canyon, so Phil kindly loaned them. Phil from Pinball Heaven kind of loaned them the demo Pulp Fiction for a few weeks, which I thought was a great thing for him to do.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of guys from Pinball Republic down there tonight, 'cause it's just up the road from our old club. So, but honestly, you'll definitely play that game, and you'll probably go back and go back and go back. I mean, me and Davey last year, I think every time I bumped into Davey, he was in the queue for Pulp Fiction and vice versa. You know, so yeah.
Is Davey on? You must have ordered one, I'm assuming.
Yeah, he's down, I think, for
Davey's
it.
down.
Definitely. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to playing all the games from last year, exactly the same as Cole. I think also I'm partly looking forward to hopefully meeting a few people, well, meeting a lot of people, I hope. But I think, you know, for the last couple of years, I've sort of had fleeting contact with a lot of people on Pinside selling mods too, and having back and forth discussions and things like that. And you sort of, it's really nice, you know. I
Face to face.
Yeah, but Pinside gets a lot of flack, but my experience has been overwhelmingly positive, actually. Really lovely people. And the comments that people have written to me, you know, it's that terrible thing, isn't it? I've said this to a few people. I've had, like, you might get one negative person, and I've had like 300
Positive.
absolutely overwhelmingly positive, but you still dwell on the negative. But you get these such lovely comments from people, and I'm really hoping that maybe I bump into a few and sort of say hello, and maybe they'll remember and say, oh yeah, we had that back and forth or whatever. So that I'm looking forward to. And what you described, Neil, about just wandering around with a beer and sort of just having a bit of fun. You know, like, I've really enjoyed the UK Pin Fest. I think we've all been to over the last few years, and I'm not the most social at those events. I like to just sort of mingle quietly around and just play a few games. And I guess I'm going to push myself to be a little bit more sort of talking to people at this time, I think. And it kind of helps with a group of us going. I mean, even just being here, chatting to you guys, I mean, I'm already sort of, you know, meeting new people, you know, creating new friendships, I suppose. And I guess I'm sort of hoping for the same a little bit in Texas, which will be nice. A couple of food as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great thing about, again, same with Pinfest, but pretty much everyone's in the, you know, at the end. There's a couple of guys, the game room guys, JJ Babich, who runs one of the big distributors in the US. He normally hires like 2 rooms on like the top floor, and he literally just has a Pinside party there the whole freaking show. I mean, he puts games in there. There's free booze. And you just meet tons of folks from Pinside there. It's, you know, so in terms of that, I definitely recommend going to his gig. He's a great guy as well. I wish, you know, he does such a, I mean, his Texas isn't even his area, but he still goes. So yeah, I mean, the social side of it there is of all the US shows, I'd say it's probably the highest, actually, of at least the ones I've been. I've not been to all of them, but I've been to many of them. So yeah, that'll be cool. So I'm gonna ask you, you know, what are you buying when you're out there? What have you got? A topper, or what's the thing you're after? Because you've got to look. If you don't have like in my mind, when you go to a pinball event like this, you've got to have like a walking through customs story, shitting myself that they're going to put me and frisk me.
I've got many of them already, Steve. I've got many of them already.
Oh. So anything that you're after, or
I've been asked. I've had a few people ask me to get toppers, and it's a case of, after what Paul done, he came through. I think he came through with about 4, 5, or 6 toppers, and he says never, ever again. So a friend of mine wants an Elvira. I'm going to probably pick up a Scooby.
Oh, the new spooky topper that they did.
Yeah,
that's really nice, to be fair.
It's one of those games. I see there's one up on the forum for sale already. And I look at it, and I think mine cost me, I think it was 11K, and I can pretty much see I've wiped 2 off that. I think realistically, you know, if you get 9 grand for it, it is what it is.
I mean, this is the problem with new in box, right? We won't
Yeah.
delve in it too long.
You've got to
Similar,
buy these things. You've got to hang on to them,
Yeah.
you know, regardless.
If you sell it immediately, you take a hit. I mean, I lost 3,000 on Elvira. Like, that was a major hit.
But it works both ways. I've just bought a Big Lebowski. It had a dozen games. It was took out of the box in the guy's gym. He had 6 games on it, and he went, I don't like that. Whether it was the language or whether, you know, it had the mature language on. He had the young kids. I don't know why. Or I picked that up under 10.
Jeez.
He took a 3 grand hit on that. And, you know, we got on about art and everything. And you said, I'll disagree with you, but I love, like Paul, I love art on pinball. Again, I can walk in my pinball room and put some music on. At the moment, it's the jukebox on Lebowski is awesome, that mod.
Okay.
I put the music on and just walk around and look at them. I don't play a lot of games. You know, these people like Wayne, and they'll put 3,000-4,000 games on a pin. No, my pins go and they've got 200 to 300 games on them. You know, you know, I just love working on them. I love modding them. I love putting my plastics on. Got all Davies stuff on my Godzilla. I would say Godzilla is my favorite pin of all time. I think they broke the mold when they made that thing. I really do. I think they've fully loaded it up, and even more so with Davies stuff and Paul's.
Such a great game. I mean, I remember bringing back 23 color DMDs one year.
Jesus.
Would
you have a crate?
Tell you what, the thing is I forgot, right? So this is the thing you kind of just have to bear in mind. All the color DMDs I had in all my games were the LED ones. I know most people prefer the LCD version. I prefer the LED one because for me it felt more like a pinball thing than just a screen. But everyone wanted the LCD one, and I didn't even think about it. But the LCD one was significantly bigger, which ended up I had to go buy a case, and I had to give 2 of them to my wife.
I bet she'd love that.
Let me tell you, you do not want to make your wife a pinball mule. The pain that I got after that, never again. But yeah, I mean, look, this is the problem, right? You know, I used to hassle Randy at Call of DMD. I said, Randy, I'm bringing these back because your distributor just doesn't have enough of them or doesn't get them. It's not that they're maybe saving like a couple of quid, but it's demand rather than the price.
I think it's definitely a little bit more price now. You can
Is
definitely
it?
get them.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a bit of a price disparity now. There wasn't back when I first started.
I think it was like 50, 75 quid, which don't realize it's a big chunk of cash for sure.
It depends, as you say, whether or not customs calls you up on it. You'd be
Yeah, I
looking
mean,
at saving somewhere in the region
lose
of
all of
100.
that instantly. But
Yeah,
I mean, I've done, and I think the topper max. I think I did 3 or 4 toppers. One
is
year.
that what you guys typically go for then? Is that what you're going to try and target? Is it going to be colored DMDs? Are you going to go for a Playfield, or are you going to?
Well, I'm not down for anything at the moment, which I don't know if that's just naive or laziness or whatever. Whether I'm going to come back with like 4 cases.
I know Spooky's going to be bringing a lot of their I don't want to call them returns. They're more like failed production.
Yeah, they do that all the time.
So you can get them really cheap, apparently like $200. So if you're in for wall art, you could have a nice Scooby or a TNA or maybe even a.
What I've just learned is that Paul's a potential mule for.
Yeah, he might be
over expenditure.
I would have been sad if I'm honest with you. I'd have gone with screws. I'm not even being funny. Like the amount of times I'm building games and I'm just like, it's impossible to get some of the like long threads, pan screws and stuff like that. And no one stops in the UK.
Good point. It's a really good point, the sizes and things. I had been thinking about armor. You know that there's the guy on Pinside that does all the lovely powder-coated armor.
Oh, yeah.
You use him, don't you, Neil, I think?
Yep.
And he does some beautiful stuff. And then so there's a couple of games which I thought, oh, I could upgrade this or I could do that. But I haven't pulled my finger out, and I'm assuming
he's doing an orange Led Zeppelin. So I originally got a black. Last year I got at Chicago. I got a black sparkle for Led Zeppelin, but then I bought a Bond Premium for the club, and it just went. It looked really good in the premium, so I thought and Led Zeppelin was Tombstone for a while. So anyway, he's doing the orange because I think the black wouldn't have been so great. But I mean, it's not cheap, but the thing I find about powder coaters, at least in my area, and it's kind of, again, he just makes it easy. Like, you know, it's a box. It's the right size to check in on a plane. I've done I've done 8 so far.
Yeah.
And then the side effect is I've got tons of stern armor in a box somewhere that I need to sell at some stage. But just the quality of it's phenomenal. And he's got, like, you know, I was asking Haney, well, I'm doing an import from the Prismic guys, do you want anything? I was like, you know, this guy's got all the colors, so you don't need to do any of that. So
that's the thing, and he knows pinball, like you say, so he knows what he's doing with it. So I if I was gonna use anybody, I'd love to use him or buy from him, but I fear I've left it too late. But I don't know. I might contact him, and if not,
email him. He's doing so. I mean, I only emailed him last week about Led Zeppelin. He said, "Yeah, no worries." The only issue is this year it'll be a bit more expensive this year because he's actually not going. Last year he went, he drove, and he had it on it. So I've had to pay for shipping to TPF, but it's fine. The other guy that's there that I want to get a new cabinet from us. There's a guy who's made Stern and Bally classic cabinets, but I just don't get that on the plane.
I was going to say, unless that's flat packed, it's not going to fit.
It is flat packed. It comes flat packed, but I mean, this guy's done an amazing job. Definitely search him out. He does a few other bits for pinball.
That is the biggest, I think, the heinous crime we've got in our country, at least in the UK, is there's no one making cabinets. Yeah. I hate restoring cabinets.
There was a guy, but they were a bit ropey. He was making them. They were just a bit flimsy especially on he was aimed at the kind of 90s Bally Williams stuff, which, you know, the weight of the Playfields of those games, you need something pretty sturdy. But this, Phil, I think it was, Philip and Evan, he got one for Adam's restoration, and it was just they had to strengthen it, a lot of it. But I don't think the guy's doing them anymore. But the Stern cabinet's actually quite a simple one. But I've got a Stargazer, and it was
sacrilegious, by the way, that you threw that bloody James Bond cabinet in the skip.
No,
I was most upset seeing that. So
myself and Paul, it's actually how me and Paul started chatting, because we both, actually with Colin as well, with Godzilla, if I remember, we both got busted Bonds.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you mentioned that cab. I've got that cab as well currently.
I've got one if you want it.
Yeah, well, it's in my garage. So
so you both got like the same damage in the same area, or?
Pretty much. I still actually haven't got a working Bond on a wand, which is really bugging me. I need to carve out some time to get it all back together and working. But
wow.
Yeah, I had a full cab swap over. So
yeah, I mean that was painful. You know, but you know, it took a while. Fair play to Stern for, you know, they sent the cabinets out eventually. I'm never sure how much of that. I mean, partly Stern, because they've got to get the cabinets and the you know, get the decals and all that. And actually, they were fully made, so it wasn't like people were saying, "Oh, you're going to have to move these hinges and this other stuff." I was like, "No, that's not how they're going to ship it to me." I was sure of that, and it turned, you know, it wasn't. Yeah, you move the armor, you move the coin door, but the rest of it was, you know, you just stuck the Playfield in it, and it was kind of there. I had to fiddle with the plunger for a bit. That was the other irritating thing I had, but. Actually, Mike Vinecar's, if he can get away, he's going to join the Brits for dinner, and he's the guy who's on the code for Bond.
Oh yeah.
So,
good stuff.
So he's a really good guy, good friend of mine, and I asked him if he'd join us, and he said if they get set up done on Thursday night,
I was going to ask. I know obviously this is all about pinball, right? But is the strategy for you guys to go out together afterwards outside of pinball? Have you done any planned excursions around Texas, or is it just around that exhibition, so to speak?
It's a good question.
Yeah,
I think nothing I know of. There's nothing being planned.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, there's not a lot to see around there. I mean, you go into Dallas and see the whole Kennedy shooting thing, which is interesting. I'm a big Kennedy nut because of the space program.
Right.
It's definitely worth seeing that. But beyond that, there's not a huge amount to see. That you know, I don't. There's like if you want to go for a drive or drive to other bits of Texas for sure, like down to Houston's lovely. Or even or go to Austin where they've got like a lot of nightlife. But in the where the event is, it is I mean, it's partly in some ways it's partly the charm of it, which is there is nothing else to do, so you're there for the pinball, right?
Okay.
And there's a couple of great barbecue restaurants and a few other things nearby, but predominantly you're there for the pinball.
And how many days are you there for then?
I'm getting in on a Thursday. I think some people might be getting on a Wednesday. I don't know, but I think is it Thursday we'll get in there?
I think most of the folks
dates.
going are getting on the Thursday. I'm there. I've got a work meeting on the Tuesday, so I'm flying out on Monday. Actually, I might be even flying out earlier because another work meeting's coming. So, yeah, I'm getting there. I mean, really, and this other thing, the show starts kind of Friday afternoon. But much like Pinfest, opens up in the evening. But
Okay. Does it end on Sunday then, or is it finish on
Sunday
Monday?
afternoon, yeah, same hours as Pinfest, kind of Sunday middle of the day. And then I think I'm actually flying back Sunday night. There's not a lot to stay for a Monday. The other place that's worth visiting is Side Arcade, which is a big pinball arcade place.
Where's the Galloping Ghost? Is that in Chicago or is
That's
that
closer to Chicago, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah. Although I say closer to Chicago, it's still a bit of a trek from Chicago. But I'm going. I keep saying I'm going to go there. I'm definitely going to go there this year. Because I'm going to Chicago this year, as well. Look, guys, really appreciate you guys joining us. We've kind of yacked on as we usually do for a bit longer than we expected, but I think the content's been great. You guys, you do a lot of great stuff for the community, and I think the UK is on the map for pinball because of the work that you guys,
Definitely.
Stumbler, and a few other folks that are making stuff here. It's great. People, they'll say, "Oh, you must," I was in Chicago and someone said, "Oh, do you know the guy that makes the Godzilla mode?" In fact, I think I pinged you about it, Paul. And I said, "Yeah, I know him. Oh, is he doing any more?" I was, "Oh, I can ask him." They're always because they know they're from the UK. They're like, "Oh, So I think we're definitely on the map for that, which is great to see, and long may it continue. And I'm looking forward to a great weekend. And hope when we get back, let's get on the old Zoom again and just have a chat how it went, because I've bigged up Texas a lot, because I genuinely think it's if you're into pinball, it's probably the place to go to, more so than Chicago, especially if you're more on the more social side, you want to meet people. Chicago has a lot of business, there's a lot of side meetings in the factories and stuff like that, and if you know people, you can get into them. It's great. Like David Fix, through the guys out of Ireland, we got a tour of the factory and stuff, which was awesome. But if you don't know those folks, it's hard to get into it. So I think this is it's going to be a great show, and I'm looking forward to it. So Paul, Colin, thanks for joining. Scott, we will magically wave the editing wand and return to the podcast that we're recording at some time in the next week. But great to have you guys on board. Appreciate the time. And with that, Colin, any last words?
No.
No,
Thanks
nothing.
for tuning in.
Paul?
Cheers.
No, just looking forward to Texas. Looking forward to hearing what we all have to say about it when we get back.
Indeed. And kind of also, always the key question is, would you go again? And Davey went, I think, for the first time last year, and he's going again. So I think that's and I've been there a while, but I'm fortunate that previously I could kind of tie it up with a bit of work, so the cost of it wasn't as crazy as it is for folks who just jump on a plane randomly. But we'll need to drag Scott along next year.
Still time, Scott. Still time.
It's the thing. It's like it was money at the time, but I might see if I can book a last minute.
I tell you what, mate, you might get
Do
lucky on low cost flights. Honestly, you never know. I've seen it where you'll get like a deal on a flight the week before, and there's plenty of hotels in the area. I mean, you won't get in the venue hotel, but there's so many close by, and Uber's everywhere. So it's like $5 to get there, and you're good to go.
Yeah,
Anyway,
definitely.
guys, thanks for joining. And Scott, we'll go back to our squabbling about art versus music versus Twilight Zone versus Roadshow versus whatever
Whatever comes up.
I want
Yeah.
to wind up folks about. Just one thing though, actually, I'll just mention it quickly before I forget. Medway are hosting a pinball competition in April the 7th, I think it is. It's a kind of cancer charity event. If you want to go to Medway and play in a comp, whilst I remember, please Google Medway. I think it's on Match Play. It's for a great cause. And they'd love to have you there for that weekend. Tony Malloy and Mike Parkins, great guys at pinball. Tony's actually usually goes to TPF, but I don't think he's going this year. But thanks, guys. We will speak to you soon. I'll see you in Texas in a couple of weeks' time.
Yes.
Well, Scott, that was a lot of fun. I don't know about what you thought.
Love it. So seamless.
So seamless.
No,
Yes.
I'd say it was good talking to them. I feel like it was good getting their view on and insight on things, and to be honest with you, just to see their thoughts on things like, as I said, like the mod community and what they do and how what they've basically accomplished. I think, as I say, you mentioned it while we were talking to them, to help put UK on the map. I think that's nice.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely. There's no question about it. I mean, and Colin's part about the community, he really rang a bell for me on that, given, I mentioned it on the thing where I had a bit of broken for Avengers. I just couldn't get the part. And he did me a solid. I just put his James Bond things on my James Bond speaker things on. They look great. But yeah, look, great to have those guys on. We'll have them back after TPF, and we'll have a chat about what we liked and what we didn't like about the show. I'm really looking forward to it because, as I said, it's not only me and Air that are there from the UK, so it's going to be good fun to have a few other guys there. Right, let's move on. So another thing I want to quickly cover is PAPA, the Professional Amateur Pinball Association, is back later this year at Imperium. It's a charity event. The reason I'm kind of bigging this up is it's a charity event for mental health and suicide. Lyman Sheets, who we've talked about before on the show, an absolute hero of mine, a phenomenal guy. His partner Penny Epstein and Josh Sharp are putting this together as a charity event to raise money for what is a phenomenal cause. I'm excited about it. I'm actually going to donate. I've got a signed Medieval Madness translate that's got Lyman's signature. I'm going to donate that. They're going to have a big raffle full of great stuff, so I'm donating that. And really looking forward to it. If you've got papa.org, I think that'll take you to more about the tournament. It's a 5
What's made them decide to reopen, by the way? Because I thought they were just saying, oh, they shut shop and that was the end of it.
Well, I guess in some ways they've kind of, this is probably not the most authentic true Papa, because it was in the building and it was very, it was kind of a special place, the Papa building. I managed to go there literally just before it closed. There was an event there, and I bounced, and I only went there because I just wanted to be able to say I walked in the place, and it was a staggeringly amazing place. 300 games, beautiful. I mean, the building apparently was falling apart, but it didn't look like that to me. If you watch Special When Lit or you Google Papa on YouTube, you'll find that a lot of great, some amazing matches before the kind of
even if you wanted to look up a game, sometimes I find that their results are high up in the list. They're always showing you like how to score it, how to play it, full breakdown.
Yeah, so this tournament's in Chicago, Interior, a great pinball location. Andy Bagwell's kind of TD. I'm going to try and help them out by volunteering. And then also we've got, I need to find the date for this because I've forgotten it again. Medway Pinball in Kent. So this is something that'll be close to quite a few people's hearts, I predict. Is that they're having a charity tournament. When is it? I'm just trying to find it. It's so Mike, who's one of the organizers there, and also at Pinball Republic. Mike Parkin's a great guy, really good friend. His partner passed away because of cancer. So 7th of April,
Right.
there's a big charity event there. Unfortunately, I can't personally make it. I'm actually on holiday with my family, which I'm really annoyed about. But Kaz, who was Mike's partner, some of you might have met her. I think she was at Pinfest. She's a lovely lady. Passed away recently, and my mother over Christmas got diagnosed with cancer.
Sorry to
Fortunately,
hear that.
she got the all clear, so all good. And we mentioned Alan Adair. He's a great friend of the show and a known pinball guy who he's had a few folks round. He borrowed Pulp Fiction, and he had a few folks round over the past few days. I think cancer's really. Used to say cancer touched everyone. Actually, until my mother had caught it, it's something I've been fortunate enough to not really been affected by. But so it's a great charity. Please register, donate, enjoy what will be a great gig at Medway. As I said, on the 7th of April, and it's all for cancer research. So Scott, I hear, I heard on the grapevine you're getting a Twilight Zone tattoo.
Yeah, I love the game at the moment. No, it's like I'm holding it, and you're going, for those of you who don't wear at the aid of a camera, I'm holding the clock at the moment, which I actually had practicing out a 3D print of the case just to see if I could get it all fitted back together. It arrived to me, unfortunately, without the clock, because the person who owned it unfortunately passed away before they could finish it.
Oh, geez.
Without sounding distasteful, I can see why they never finished it, because it's a pain in the ass. It's horrible. It really is horrible to put together.
Is a nightmare.
It is. It's got like little cogs on it. The teeth have to be in an exact alignment, and I feel like you have to have, like, I don't know, a very good understanding of the assembly. And the problem is that because it was already disassembled, I'm having to follow a blown out schematic where they, show the parts fitted out together, and then I go, I thought I'm one step closer, and then someone goes, "Oh, you're missing that part." I'm like, okay, make another order to Marco Specialties, put that bit together. Oh no, you're missing that part. It's like I didn't even realize it. There's a little pin that sits in the clock hand.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that, so I'm putting it together. I'm thinking, why is the larger clock hand loose? And they're like, I noticed there's a groove in the inside of the clock hand. I'm like, what's that for? Look at the schematic. A drive pin. Are you for real? I'm missing a drive pin.
You should reach out. I just mentioned Mike, but you should reach out to Mike Parkin. So he's got a Twilight design done at Medway, and he toiled with that clock. He used to be at Pinball Republic for a while. We kind of moved the games around to keep it fresh. So he took Twilight on down at Medway, but he toiled with that clock for I don't know how long, and finally got it reliable and working.
Yeah.
So
I mean, obviously, we know the rumor is that potentially Prodetti might be bringing this game to Texas Pinball Festival. It either be that or another title, but we'll see.
If I was them, I would put a small LCD screen on the Playfield.
I'm hoping they've redesigned a clock, and I'll just buy that because I'm getting so fed up with this one.
I mean, this is the thing with those 80s games and 90s games, that era of 90s game. And we all love it with these big mechs, but at UK Open, at big pinball events, I guarantee you the game that gives us the most grief are these heavy mech games like Twilight Zone or Congo or Demo Man. And look, we love the mechs, don't get me wrong. They're interesting.
I love mechs in games, but it's just when they're built, like, don't get me wrong, there's good mechs, right? Like Twilight Zone's gearbox, it's metal, and you can't really get it wrong. It's all opto driven. If there's a problem with it, it's probably going to be either the switches, as in the optos, or it's going to be the gearbox isn't lubricated enough. It's fairly straightforward. Even though it's complex to disassemble, it's fairly easy to diagnose. It's like Pandora's box of little pieces, and it is like an actual clock. You feel like, oh my God, if I don't get this exactly right, it's not going to pull together. And I think
it's super complex, probably one of the most complex.
I spoke to you about this with the Cyberpunk game that I've obviously rethemed from Johnny Mnemonic, and I was working on it last night, and it's I can understand why operators just wouldn't want to maintain it. It's one of those ones that, because it's on the backboard, and it's literally is the backboard piece, you've got to disassemble it from underneath on top. If you're an operator, you're not going to sit there and faff around with that, pull it out, re-lubricate the gearboxes. It's like you're just going to, you know, hope it doesn't break.
And it's like the conversation during the mods, the kind of mod Texas pinball section where, you know, starting to give them a kick in for many things, right? But
yeah,
the way they pump out pros that are just simple games to put in bars and on location, and you know, in the UK, a coin up location that isn't only Stearns is like just you know, you just can't find a coin up location that's not just about Stearns, because
I get why, right? You're right. You're bang on
to do it.
Yeah, less to go wrong. You just want it to be, you know, it might have one or two, maybe two max toys in it, so to speak, that are mechanized that might need maintenance. But on the whole, it needs to be reliable, because it's going to get smashed.
Absolutely, and actually, you know, there's a bunch of guys playing the tournament in Finland, and even though those games are pretty simple, they're still having to tackle them because they get you know, they get a lot of plays, these games. So
did you see that James Bond 60th, by the way, out of interest? The one that had on. So there was a James Bond 60th that was on location, I think.
Oh yeah,
at least
this was I've seen two of them on location, and both of them are not looking great, if I'm honest.
No, the Playfield chipping is horrific. Like, I was talking to my friend Ant about this. So there's a lot of, like, I suppose, changes, in the way that Playfield production's done, right? Nowadays, people do print to wood rather than silkscreen. The clear coat, I would imagine the formula's changed, probably because of
massively
environmental issues that
it's water-based rather than oil-based.
Yeah, exactly. So it's less hard, like, you know, it's more malleable and it's soft. I feel like along the way, right, because again, this probably leads us quite nicely into Twilight Zone, because there's been a whole thing around, even with the Playfield with Mirko's Playfield. So high-end pinball, as people might know him as Hep Pinball. I think his name's Chris. He's done a whole piece on Twilight Zone recently on the Playfield that he received, chipping, pooling from the word go, scratches everywhere. Even the replacement he had a chipping around the trough area, and it seems to be like how it's produced. His hypothesis is that Mirko and whoever he's got in his staff to cut it, it's an assumption that maybe it's different from the JJP runs, that it's been clear coat first and then cut second. Now, that is a big no for me. Even I understand that. It's like you do not want to be adding strain onto a already like clear coated playfield by cutting into it. You're going to cause chipping. And I feel like, I'm not saying Stern do any different, because I can't even comment on theirs, but it does feel like there's a repeat pattern of playfields just not holding up like how they used to. I really feel there needs to be maybe a revisit to the way things used to be to make them more reliable.
No, look, no argument there. I've talked about my Quicksilver getting redone. That's because the first Mirko Playfield fell apart, basically.
Yeah.
It's and Guns N' Roses, the whole shit show of that with Mirko Playfields. I mean, that guy, it amazes me that he's not in jail, because I don't think anyone's got a good story to tell about him.
No, I mean, I flagged an issue to him about my particular playfield. So I have what they call the prototype design, which is basically the free magnet version of the playfield. And in the door area, there's a text that sits predominantly at the front, at the top of the graphic, that says something like piano when lit, or some black text like that.
Yeah.
And it was raised to him on the very famous Mirko thread that's on Pinside. And he said he's addressed it and he's fixed it. What he forgets to say to everybody is that he's only fixed it for the 2 magnet version. When I raised it to him, because I'd received my free magnet version in December of last year, so not that long ago, a couple of months ago, he said, "Oh yeah, that's always been the way, and that's how it is." And then he goes, "If you look on the website, there's a picture of it. I don't hide from it." And I said, "You don't point it out. You just show a very small photo stamp of image of your playfield and expect people to look over it."
Yeah. With that guy, there's always a thing where it's not his fault.
Yeah.
Right. He has no concept of customer.
No.
Right.
No
And
customer service.
what's annoying is he's obviously got a capability to do this, and he chooses to do a half-assed output.
Yeah.
And this is the frustration, right? If he does a Quicksilver Playfield, then no one else is going to do it. I mean, and it's annoying. Although actually, there's a couple of guys that are doing Playfields that he's done because the quality is just not where it needs to be.
No. I mean, you go back to your whole Kruzman thing. It's like even Hep says the same thing. If they get a Mirko Playfield, they have to sand it down. They have to remove the clear and re-clear coat it, and you haven't even got a guarantee that the wood won't warp.
No,
He's shown some pictures of like the wood sat in trays for months, and it just starts doing that. It's bowing.
Well,
it's crazy.
So when Kruzman was doing my Quicksilver Playfield, he took the clear off of it.
Yeah.
And when he put his clear on, the wood started to move a little bit, where the paint and where the painting sections weren't, and he had to kind of wait. I mean, it took him 6 months to do it. And let me tell you, like, although it seems expensive, what it feels like a lot of money what you're paying Kruzman, in terms of his hourly rate on the work that he does.
He's not making anything on it.
He is not floating about in a Ferrari for this, because
no,
they're just an insane amount of attention to detail he puts into it. And I mean, this is what from Keith, from who did the work. He's like, holy shit, Neil, this Kruzman clears as hard as a brick.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, he really does like a fit clear coat on his. It's the same thing I've had with my stuff I get from Australia from Restored by Scott. He doesn't mess around with the automotive clear there either.
I'll post a picture of it because it looks like a sheet of glass. I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah. And actually, but I mean, that's what it needs to be, right? I mean, it's the same thing with Stearns. I don't think they're, let's say, escapable of their clear coat either. It does dimple really easily.
Yeah, I have noticed though, right? And you might want to. I know you've got my Godzilla. Let's talk about that in a second. I'll loan you my Godzilla. Stern Playfields have got better though. There's no question about it from my point of view.
Oh yeah, I mean their clear coat doesn't chip. I just think it's very malleable in comparison to the original kind of stuff.
Even that, if I compare Batman to Venom, which I just got, it's night and day improvement.
Really? Okay.
For sure. They've still, don't get me wrong, they've still got more improvement to do, but I have to say, Stern have gone for this kind of apple peel effect. I don't know if you've noticed it on the Godzilla that I loaned you, but it doesn't.
Where it's got that kind of looks like a, you know what you mean, like it looks like orange peel.
Yeah, sorry, not apple peel, orange peel. And actually, I think that's an outcome of the formula that they've changed, but actually, unless you look at it like a specific angle, you don't notice the orange peel.
No, if you put a camera on it, it looks horrific.
Yeah, if you zoom into it for sure, but I have to say, I think it works pretty well because it kind of manages. You still get the dimples, but it kind of blends them a little bit.
Sure.
It's still not as good as the old, what was it, hard plate or
diamond clear coat?
Diamond clear, yeah, diamond plate.
Yeah.
That they used to do on the early 90s games, but they were using all sorts of chemicals that you find in nuclear power plants these days. So,
I think that's the difficulty, right? I can't give these guys too much stick because I know that they're probably constrained by environmental laws that probably prohibit them from using the more toxic kind of clear coat that they used to use in the past.
And even in places like China, I mean, I was hearing that in Shenzhen you can't use certain types of chemicals there anymore because the pollution that it was driving there is horrendous. But you also see it in car manufacturers. So, I'm a big BMW nut, and then from the 3rd edition M3 to the 4th edition, they changed from an oil-based to a water-based paint. And I remember I was trading in my car for a new one, and I parked my old one next to the new one, brand new car. And the paintwork on the old one, which was like a 4-year-old M3, for maybe 5 years old, looked better than the paint on the new one. And I was like, because it was I had one was white and one was metallic blue color,
right?
And I was thinking, holy shit, look at the difference in that. And I really noticed it. And then lots of people were talking about it, and the reality is every car manufacturer's got the same challenge now, and you get this orange peel effect. You can buff it out,
Yeah.
and I've got a detailer that buffs it out, but it's still not as good as it was because of that requirement. But look, I think it's great. I mean, the great thing is we've seen lots of games being restored by folks like you and others. Breathing another 20 or 30 years life into these older games is great news, but it's effort, hard work, and expensive.
It is hard. Yeah.
And I've just got this just arrived today from Cliffy's or from a Quicksilver. There's a
Metal protectors, especially on modern machines like these days, it's a
they're a
must.
must-have now. Basically,
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
they don't look terrible, but they offer so much protection. So, Scott, you've had my Godzilla for a few weeks. What's the verdict?
So it's obviously when we had the guys speaking just earlier, everybody was saying how much they liked it. I didn't want to be the kind of person to say it, but I personally think the game's not great.
Really?
No, I don't like it.
What don't you like about it?
I think there's some annoyances, right? That left ramp is so bloody difficult to make that unless you've got like a really good accuracy, and don't get me wrong, I'm not like the best player anyway, right? And that's probably symptomatic of me venting my frustrations on my skill set. But I find that unless you hit that really clean, because it goes up that horseshoe at the top, if it doesn't make it, it just drains. And then it's like if you plunge badly, it drains. And if it goes through the building, it drains. And I'm just like, this game's got such crap geometry. Why does everyone love it so much? I'm just like,
this is the Godzilla that was in the club, which was set up pretty brutally.
Oh, maybe I'm playing on because it's set brutally. Yeah, I have moved the posts on the slide on the outposts.
Yeah, I know.
Easiest difficulty.
I saw that, which I will never ever let you hear the end of it. I would definitely go and go into the settings.
Right.
Anything that's not on default, put it back to default. I think it'll probably improve it. Also,
maybe
if you haven't, have you lowered the pitch?
Yeah, I lowered the pitch to about 6.5 degrees,
right,
sort of standard.
So
I'll be honest with you. I'm just a bit like.
You made it floaty.
I think the one thing right is the theme doesn't really do much for me.
Okay.
I don't know why people get so excited about a man running around in a rubber suit, personally. But if you want to do that, it's fine.
That's every superhero in the world you've just did.
But it's like, no, I get why people like it. I get the fact that it's got a lot of code. It's deep, and there's a lot to do, and there's, arguably quite good moy balls in it. But I'm just a bit like, nah.
You're kind of hyped out by it. Look, you got a few more weeks to play. So
I don't know, it might just collect dust. I said to you off air before, I said don't worry about any wear and tear. It just sits there off most of the time. I honestly would never have one. Hand on high, I'd never have one in my collection. I would just hate it. I'd hate it for the money.
There's a few other people I know that don't like Godzilla either. They find it like it's kind of just doesn't work for them in terms of how it is. And there's aspects of the game that frustrate me a little bit, but
it's so weird, isn't it? Because everyone says I love Deadpool, best game ever, and then I go like it's rubbish, and then they go Godzilla, best game ever, it's rubbish, and then I'm like I love Monster Bash, Monster Bash is rubbish. I'm definitely in that other camp.
Yeah,
I much prefer like the simple rule set, like fun. I like the games with humor, and don't get me wrong, Godzilla's got humor. You are
like Deadpool.
Yeah. Well, it does have good humor in it. I'll give you that. I don't think there's anything wrong with the theme of Deadpool. Yeah. I love Deadpool as a theme. I'm a big fan of the animation and the movies, to be honest with you. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just feel like there's no toys in it. It is just a shooter.
Yeah. There isn't. I think that's a fair challenge. I mean, again, we'll go back to the beauty of pinball. There's something for everyone, right? So.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is what I mean. Like, don't ever if you're ever making a choice, people. When it's funny, I'll talk to you in a second about something I saw on Pinball Info later on because it made me laugh. But there was for me, it's like, don't ever listen to top 100. If someone says to you it's number one, it's like whatever. It's just a popularity contest half the time. You find a game that you like.
Those top 100s are just such a nonsense.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just people peddling their game to sell it.
It's a bit of fun, but it's not. You got to play a game yourself. It's like, I'll be honest with you, I used to avoid classics like the Plague. I just thought, why would I play that old shit? And then at Pinball, you have to play. You don't have a choice. And I just fell in love with them. And I do think, there's certain people who, like, there's a guy who sold, it's like the story Colin told about Big Lebowski. He played it for like 10 games and didn't like it. And I'm like, 10 games just isn't long enough.
No, you got to give it a fair whack. I mean, like, for me, right, I was surprised how much I like Black Knight, even though that game is brutally unfair. That mace spinning is just a cheat.
Yeah, I love it.
But, like, I still love it.
I mean, everyone keeps saying when you get rid of your Black Knight, I'm like, I'm not.
Probably won't.
I love the music. I love the theme. It's a tough game. It's not the deepest of games. It's not the most,
No.
It's not the most innovative games, but I find it hugely fun. Same with Turtles. It gets a bad rap because it's so hard, but I kind of like it because it's hard. But like and then you got Venom, right? Where
now that I liked when I went around your house, I think that game gets a really bad rap. I really enjoyed that.
Venom,
I would have one.
Everyone who's come to my house to play Venom has raved about it. So when people say it's not a good game, I'm like, what? And there's more new code that came out. There's still 0.97, so there's still a lot of code to come out of that game.
Yeah,
I think it's phenomenal. I think it's another Eddie classic. And
honestly, I would like to have that game. I really would. I just think, like, for me, I can't warrant the price that it's at. But then we won't go into it too much because it's something that shouldn't really be discussed here anyway. But there are price different changes going out, I've noticed recently, for some games. So maybe I can get a Venom at a price that fit my wallet.
There's definitely a bit of a price war going on between the dealers in the UK. And it's great, but unfortunately, the kind of ground floor that they can go to set by the distributor is still too high, right? But
I think there does need to be some sort of price correction going on in pinball. Just probably it's difficult, right? Because it needs to happen stateside first, if anything else.
So, I mean, in terms of the second-hand market, that correction's already happening, man. You see it.
It's brutal. The games I'm seeing dropping in price now, I'm like, I'm glad I got rid of my Elvira when I did.
Yeah, I mean, there's some folks that are like, living in La La Land trying to sell a game for 10 grand when it only cost 10 grand to buy it, and it's 3 years old. I'm like, nah, mate, you're having a laugh if you think you're going to do that.
It was like I was interested in that Indiana Jones, as you know, and we discussed it. But then I was like, the price that it was at, and then it was covered in Mylar, and I was like, if I've got to take all that Mylar off, I'm going to probably end up damaging the Playfield. Then I'll have to buy a new Playfield. Then it's got to go got all the work to do it, prep it, and get it all done properly. It's going to cost me a fortune. It's just like, it's not worth it. I'm just like, if I can get an Indiana Jones at the right price without having any major legwork done to the Playfield, I'll go for one. But as you say, the market at the moment is in a funny position. You've got people still trying to sell stuff where it was, not where it should be at.
No, absolutely, and well, it just doesn't sell. I mean, I got a bit of a kick in on Facebook because I told someone that they were selling GNR for way more than they will ever get for it.
I'll back you up on that. I sold my GNR for less than that, and that was back in COVID.
Like, mate, I wasn't trying to. Right,
no, I don't think you were trying to be mean about it.
I'm never going to buy a GNR, so I've got no fight in this, right? But it looked like you wanted to sell it quick, and I was like, mate, you're not going to get a quick sale. It's that simple. And he's like, I'm like, mate, and then he's like, I get all this bullshit about, and genuinely, what I was trying to do is like, honestly, mate, if you want to sell this, you're going to have to think again about the price.
Lower your expectations. Yeah, it's the same thing that happened with Alien, right? There's a lot of people trying to sell their old standard versions for like what I would almost call the price of the new Ripley version.
Absolutely, it's like mental. There's a guy. Yeah. There's one on. I noticed one on Pinball Owners earlier this week. He's trying to sell Alien. He's got a not even. I think it's the original remake one, not the LE one. The original
the standard version, the SV.
He's selling it for $8 grand. Yeah. I'm like, no one's fucking buying that. Are you mad?
Yeah.
So I think, look, I get it. Pinball's expensive, and people say, "Oh, Neil, you've got loads of money. You don't have to worry about it." Right, okay, that's how people get rich, by not worrying about it, right?
Yeah.
So I just I kind of despair of it. It's look, we had this wacky thing called COVID. It generated a behavior, but like like COVID, it's kind of passed. So the
It's like
behavior,
the used car market, right? That's really bottomed out now, where before
yeah.
it was going sky high prices.
Yeah, I mean, and look, EVs. There's another great one, right? If you've got an electric vehicle, man, you want to have a competition about how to lose money the fastest. Buy an EV right now. Jesus Christ, they are.
Never call a car an asset, right? And never call an EV a car.
I know. It's like, well, I like to get back what I paid for it. Look, we all would, mate. But fortunately, there's this thing called reality, and you need to be on the right side of it. I mean, there's so many crazy and some crazy price. There's another guy trying to sell Whitewater for $6,000. I'm like, no one's buying that for $6,000.
It's weird, isn't it? Because we go back about the whole American market versus UK market. I feel like there are prices for games here that are definitely not reflected in the US.
Yeah, and vice versa. I agree.
And vice versa, yeah.
I mean, look, this is the thing. I'm still buying games for the club and for home, and I've had some great deals recently. The Stars that I talked about, I got that in another very limited edition game that I'll talk about another time for €2,000. Cost more to get them shipped than it cost to buy the games.
Wow.
And if you go out
I have noticed in Europe actually, there's a lot of low prices going on for games.
Yeah, if you go out there and look, there are deals to be had. It might not be the latest and greatest, but actually some of these older games like Stars, such a great game.
Man, even the 90s stuff, I saw like in Europe, they were selling a fully restored Creature for €4,600. I'm thinking,
I mean,
that's pretty good for fully restored.
Yeah, I mean, and actually to some extent, because of not being in the EU, the tax on that's a bit of a disincentive now.
That's the problem.
But it's getting close to that mark. And of course, if you go and pick up yourself, you can drive it through the green light.
You can find a way through it, right? Yeah. I came in with
we
this.
don't
I'm sure.
That. We don't want anyone dodging taxis because we've got hospitals and train drivers.
This is all a joke.
Yeah. Right. So moving on. I think what have we bought and sold? I bought a Quicksilver Cliffy.
I've bought more than that, unfortunately.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like, as I mentioned to you before, like I don't know if I've got it. Oh, actually, I have got them here. Hold on.
I'm trying to find these.
So this is more for the benefit of the people on video than it is for the people who are on. But yeah, this sadly is my third set of hinges. I don't even want to go for Cyberpunk.
For Cyberpunk, they look nice.
Yeah, they do look nice. Unfortunately, so did the other two sets.
You biffed it.
First set was a bit of a muppet. I just kind of like, I have a lot of hinges lying around here, a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I got too much metalwork. I had to get rid of a lot of it. Yeah, I'm unhinged. But I didn't realize that when I sent them off, I should have known. It's really obvious as well. Anybody who knows their hinges would say, you're an idiot. That's obvious. I put Stern hinges in there. And Stern ones we're talking like the White Star range ones. Yeah. They're big, fat buggers. Yeah. And I was like, I opened the box and I was like, oh God, I know what I've done there. I've given him a Stern set. I was just jumbling stuff together. So I was like, okay, that's not a problem. Go back with a second set. They look just like these, but they were Data East. Data East has 2 holes, not 3, and the hole here for the hinge pivot is half the diameter of that. So then I go back to him and he goes, haven't I already done these? I was like, yeah, kind of. Those were for Data East. These are for Williams, and he didn't know. He didn't care.
Them to someone on Pinball Info.
No one's going to want blue hinges. Where are they going to fit those?
Man. There's
all they'll do is they'll sandblast the old ones down for me, and I'll get them done in another colour.
007 speaker things from Collywobbles. He did 2 sets for me. One for the LE here, and one for the premium I've got for the club. But it's like the 007 gun logo on a speaker thing. Epic job. Quality's unamazed. What else? I put on a whole lot of. Someone broke my FIFA. I had a tournament here because the club's closed, and someone managed to put a ball through the plastic protectors of my FIFA. So I've redone all that.
Okay.
I also fitted Mr. Stumbler's Area 51 mod, and Dave's actually in hiding now because I've hired a hitman to get
Was
him.
it that complicated to put together then?
It was actually. It was really easy, and Dave's instructions were spot on. Right.
Right.
There's just one bit that's just a little bit fiddly, and if you're a ham-fisted moron like me, you just it just.
Do you know, I had a mod just like that. So Twilight Zone in the upper playfield, someone redesigned the switches.
Yeah.
So normally they're just standard like I don't want to call them rollover switches, but they were leaf switches.
Leaf
That's
switches,
probably better way to put it.
yeah.
Standard leaf switches, so that when the magnet bounces the ball around, it can register the shots against the edges of the playfield, I suppose, up there. In the mod, someone made it so it was much more glamorous, let's say, and they were flush, and they were like basically inbuilt into like brand new, nice chrome-plated pieces. But the genius that decided that built it all out machined these like tiny little holes to put these tiny little screws in with tiny little washers.
Yeah.
And you had to wedge that washer in between the chrome plating and the outside of the PCB to thread through basically to the PCB and the chrome plate to hit the washer.
Yeah.
I'm using tweezers and I'm just like, right, I've had enough. I got to like 20 minutes in. I'm not doing this, and I sold the set. I just thought, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not spending 2 hours of my life putting that together.
I didn't get to that stage, but it was tricky, but I persevered. Actually, Dave I watched that and said, "You need to hide me because there's a hitman coming for you." But his instructions were fine. It was just, and the thing is, he's trying to make these mods interactive, which means he needs to grab signal from the game.
Sure.
And that's where this fiddly bit was. But once it was in, I mean, it just looks outstanding. Dave just, some of the stuff he puts together is just amazing. He really adds a bit of kind of class and shine to some games.
We covered that, didn't we, with the guys? But I think, like, for me, it's like it's making it look like it came from a manufacturer, not from a modder.
Absolutely.
And with all due respect to modders, that to say it looks like something that's part of the machine, it's the best kind of compliment in my book.
100%. What else I bought? I bought a Flash Gordon. It's heading to my storage unit. I've got more games in storage than anything else right now. It's a bit depressing to see, and I tell you what, storage, mate, it's not cheap.
No, but I've been to your storage unit, and I appreciate you letting me borrow some of your games. Game of Thrones, we didn't talk about it, but I'm really enjoying Game of Thrones. I do like it.
It's entirely selfish, so I don't have to pay as much storage. So I appreciate you and others that have got games. Actually, Mark Kelly just borrowed my Jurassic Park Pro for a bit. But yeah, happy. I mean, I'll be honest, it kind of depresses me to see. I'm just at the storage one I've got here in Woking. It depresses me to see 30 games in storage. It's just like they should be getting played, I
suppose this brings us neatly onto your venue then. So what's happening?
Yeah, absolutely.
For Pinball Republic?
I'll be honest with you. I'm a bit cagey about saying anything because we thought we had a place. And we got absolutely messed about by this asshat of a landlord or agent. The estate agent was really good, but the guy who was acting for the landlord,
not great.
Honestly, I hope he fucking falls over and dies or something. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. There are certain types of people in this world where, if you're negotiating with someone, I believe there's like in the middle of that negotiation, you're in like a kind of honourable place where you try to find something that works, and then either you do a deal or you walk away. What you don't do is negotiate with 5 people and hope that you get the right thing that you want. And it's quite.
Oh, so you think he was an open bid with everyone else, even at contract stage?
There's no question about it. There's no question about it. And actually, I kind of tested it by becoming another bidder. So yeah, I mean, it's a little bit irritating, and actually, in hindsight, I'm kind of glad I found out because I don't think this place would have been a great landlord for us. So
not if that's how they're treating you at the contract stage.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're trying to impress the customer, what is it going? And that's how they treat you. That's how you treat them. what's it going to be like when you've signed a deal? You're like, when locked in for however many years. I just thought,
Dodged a bullet, if anything else. I think
it's annoying because the venue would have been brilliant. It needed work, but it would have been great. But
I know you don't want to jinx anything, but you say like the new location then still somewhere good.
yeah, so look, it's even better. It's in a better location. So
Okay.
I actually posted to LinkedIn, believe it or not, a bit of a hey network, can anyone help me?
Okay.
And I actually expected to get 0,
Right.
but it's impressive how many responses I got. And actually, they put me in touch with the people who really run the property in Croydon for Croydon Council. So we are currently talking to one of Croydon Council's contractors, if you like, about a venue that's minutes, literally walking. I mean, not even minutes, 2 minutes from West Croydon train station, 1 minute from the tram stops, and listen to this. This is the best part. The best part. 30 seconds from McDonald's.
Amazing. Food on tap.
No, but seriously, it's a venue.
Is it a bigger venue than the original venue? Can you fit more machines or the same
It's
amount?
bigger,
or?
so it's kind of different. I don't want to say too much about it because I don't want to
Sure.
get kind of over. I really actually, part of me doesn't want to say anything, but people keep asking us, so I want to share where we're at. Look, the first thing is we're going to find a venue. It's just a matter of time. We haven't given up. We're not going to give up. We know that we can do it, right? This one, we've got a landlord that's really supportive, gets what we're trying to do, has some commercial realities, so the price is still going to be a lot more than what we were paying, but it's a modern place. It's got air conditioning. Wow. I can't believe it. So I'll be there in the summer. I usually dodge the club during the summer because I just can't cope with the heat in the place. It's got air conditioning. It's got nice toilets. It's got a little kitchen. It's got food and beep, and it's right in the middle of Croydon.
A lot of amenities accessible to you.
Yeah, it's in a really good location. It's got car parking. Okay, you have to pay a couple of quid for the car parking, but hey, it's better than.
But I imagine it's a maintained car park.
Quid for a new
alloy. With all due respect to the old estate, I mean that road, my God.
Oh mate,
it was dilapidated.
I reckon I've spent 500 quid on tyres because of that.
I lost a tyre in there. I got a nail in the tyre.
And also we don't have. I mean, the Setworks guys next door are really good guys, but they're a pain in the ass to live with. I mean, so actually, I wanted to say, a big thanks to Matt, Di, Graham, Andy, Joe, Clive, Mike.
I was going to say, when I went to go collect one of the games at the club, those guys were working hard.
Yeah,
so,
Mark, Kelly, everyone that was involved, huge thanks for helping us clear out not just 65 pinball machines, but also
clearing out all the clutter,
two loads full of furniture, right? Chucking out. I mean, we filled a skit, and so the club's empty. If you go on the club Facebook page, you'll see the emptiest. But it was kind of sad to. I'm not super tied to anything emotional like that, but we've been there 6 years. It was great. It was kind of sad to see it empty, but also, as I've said before, I'm really glad because if this new venue comes off, it's going to be glorious because
it's nice.
We would never have moved to this venue ever if we'd never been forced out. So, look, everyone that helped us move, I really appreciate it. It was heavy lifting, it was tiring, and I literally took a week off to be able to do it because there's just what people don't realize is there's so many little things you have to take care of, and I was banging the club volunteers and the club supporters like in December. Label stuff, chuck it out, get rid of it. And they're like, we don't have to move out for 3 months. I'm like, but that 3 months going to come quickly. And it did. And there was still last minute panicking of, you can't chuck that in the bin. Because I was kind of a bit...
You're a bit more draconian.
I was like, well, look, if you've had 3 freaking months, come on. So I was a bit kind of brutal on,
So what you're trying to say is someone was saying, I need that SCART lead.
Yeah, I
It
don't want
could come in
to store,
handy.
I don't want to store stuff that is we're never going to use, right? So the
Yeah.
stuff we had in storage, I'm like, nah, I'm not paying to store that. So we're a bit brutal on it, but I think we got the right outcome in the end. But yeah, it was heavy lifting. We are going to need a kind of Herculean effort to put the club back together when we do the deal, which is likely to be end of April, beginning of May, I think. Unfortunately, the folks that we're dealing with want the lease signed before they'll let us have access. So look,
Okay.
watch the space, watch the club Facebook page. We'll update as we go. Like I say, I'm still a bit until it's done. It's done. But I feel incredibly hopeful about this place. Just because of the focus that the landlord is giving us and the concessions he's making on certain things makes me feel we're in for a really good ride.
Excellent.
I'll also be able to host the UK Open there, which will
Oh,
allow
that's
me,
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
which would allow us to put a load more cash into the club. We should be able to fit 100 games there, so that's going to be excellent.
Well, look, we snagged that out of you in the end. So 100 games, that's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, we're not there yet. We're hopeful. We need cash. If you want to donate to us, let us know because we do need cash. I mean, the storage, just so you know, to store our stuff is actually more than the rent we were paying for the old place. And
Oh, wow.
we leaned on storage companies to give us a great deal. Storage is super expensive in central London. Actually, I moved a load of my games back here to Woking because the storage was literally half price, but we couldn't do that with the furniture because it cost to move it and then move it back. It
Yeah.
didn't make
Yeah.
any sense. Plus, there was the unlikely moment of, are we really going to keep trying? If we, my sense was, look, guys, if we don't move into a place by August or September, are we ever going to find a place? So, but I'm now convinced, no matter what, we're going to find a place. We're going to reopen, and thank God because I really missed the league. I had an event
I think
here.
it's just the community would be a lesser players. I mean, we've touched on this slightly, right? In the UK, there aren't many places to go
No.
play pinball.
And in fact, tonight there's an event in Funland in London, which, look, it's an okay place, but the games aren't kept in great shape, unfortunately. And
I think you said it yourself. You had to go there and level them, right? Because they don't really.
if you have to,
Yeah.
if that's the future of pinball in the UK, then it's a pretty depressing future in my view. So look, if you've got a venue near you, there's Retroids, there's Tilt. There's Pinball Office, use it or lose it.
Especially when lit. Yeah.
Especially when lit, use it or lose it. We used it, but we still lose it. Just the legacy of the venue that we were in. But we'll be back. I'm determined. I actually kind of miss running the pinball the club from a day-to-day perspective. There's a lot of
Imagine a lot of the
BS,
guys
but
do.
It
Yeah.
was good, yeah. And we are going to need help though with volunteers to open and help us open because where we are has got some complexities. Not anything difficult, but just things that are different that we're going to need help with. Look,
You going to
Scott,
do any opportunity? Last question, if I may. Any opportunity there? Do you think to improve? Like, I know, for instance, like Matt had the idea of doing like the Playfield artwork, stuff like that. You're going to focus on the aesthetics, kind of build up like a.
Yeah, look, I mean, we've got a few Playfields stick on the wall, but I think look, we're not a rich company, right?
No, of course not.
And so the goal is here's what's the most important thing for me: a level floor, because in the old place,
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
holy shit, it used to drive me nuts. You move a game an inch and you'd have to re-level it. So the great news is we've got a level floor, right? So we don't need to spend any money on that. That's glorious. But lighting is the next thing. So the lighting in the club, we turn it off. We bought these little uplighters, which were okay, but actually I need more light than that. Like I need this level. In my mind, this level of light, this level of light I've got here is ideal for playing pinball, and it's set up in a way that it doesn't glare, even though I've got non-reflective glass anyway. It just doesn't glare.
Sure.
And I noticed the difference in it. So I want it to be decent light. We're definitely going to have a more active streaming setup
Oh, that's
because
cool. Yeah.
because other venues, particularly in the US, get a lot of interest because they stream stuff. So we're gonna have a commentary booth. We're gonna have
See, this is what I was on about when it comes to, like, adding aesthetics and that. That's good. This is nice.
I mean, look, it might
Stepping up a bit.
not look perfect from day one, but the other thing we're gonna have, the entry is gonna have like we had a lot of desk level stuff, which then people put stuff on and it looks like a mess, like their bag or their cigarettes or their beer or whatever. We're going to elevate to kind of bar bench level, and also there's enough space for us to put down proper seating. The big challenge about the club was the seat. There was very limited seating.
Yeah.
Have we got? We need to. There's certain elements of how we organize.
So is there going to be like a breakout area, stuff like that? Do you think
there'll be a little breakout area, but
yeah,
this is the beauty of it. Look, we'll have a little breakout area where people have a cup of tea or something, but
yeah,
there's loads of breakout areas outside the venue.
That's true. Yeah, as you said.
So I think the need to have that is a bit different. We'll still have tea and coffee, and the vending machine will still be there, etc., etc. But it won't be the room that we had before, but there'll be an area for sure. And the pinball community, if there's one thing I've learned about them, they're all big tea drinkers, so we definitely need to cater to that, right? But I'm excited about a great place that will have great reachability for people. Literally, you'll be able to get from central London to the new Pinball Republic in 20 minutes, right?
It's good.
20 minutes.
It's really good.
Gatwick to the new Pinball Republic in 30 minutes. It literally is walk off the train, walk into Pinball Republic. That's how it's going to be. So we're excited about it. There's some issues we need to solve, but they're all solvable. Look, with what we've kind of really gone on with when I merge the other content in, it's going to be a long podcast. So apologies for that if this has been too long. Hopefully you've been sensible and listened to it in different
parts.
Yeah. Again, thanks to Colin and Paul for joining us. I said we'll have them back after after TPF. And look, we're really, the pinball summer's starting to come. I don't know about you, but I've had enough of this rain, Scott. But the pinball summer.
I've had enough of this cold.
Yeah, that as well. Looking forward to getting out and about and seeing a few events and stuff. So I think at that stage we'll call it. Scott, as always, thank you for joining us and being the core kind of playability talisman that you are for the podcast, mate.
Trying to understand where you were going with that, but yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of making it up as I was going along.
I just like to be the other voice, Neil. That's all.
But you need to be you're
Read
more
into that what you will.
But this is the thing. I mean, this is the thing about having Colin and Paul on is there are so many voices in this hobby. It's amazing that we've got the community that we've got in some respects, because
very true.
You can get quite polarized on certain things. I get polarized because I like people.
I definitely would like if we do more breakout with more people bringing in.
Yeah, I think we will. I think that worked really well. We'll definitely get more guests on, for certain. And let's see how we go. And if there's a guest that you want, by all means.
See if you can get George Gomez, because when I reached out to him about my retheme for Johnny Mnemonic, he went radio silent.
Yeah,
he was all interacting, going, "Oh, you're doing this, you're doing that," and I said, "Yeah, and this is what we've done." Nothing. I don't know if he was too happy with what I done to his game.
I think what it'll be is, right. So George, he's always worried about pissing off licensors.
Okay.
I suspect you doing an unlicensed hack on a licensed game it's probably got his worry muscle moving. I will ping George and ask if he wants to come on.
Yeah, I'd love to. Do you know what?
So
I love his code. I love his games.
A great friend of mine. I honestly try and avoid kind of getting the pinball folks on, because it's kind of like unpaid overtime for a lot of these guys. But I'll ask him. Worst case, he says no. We are, there's probably a couple other guys from Stern that would join us if I asked them nicely. I keep meaning Joel from Triple Drain. He's promised to join us. I keep meaning to follow him up on that. But yeah, let's look if let's try and get let's try and get a few guests on for post. Well, we'll have Colin and Paul back for post Pinfest.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd love to see what they thought about all the games that get hopefully
actually,
announced there.
maybe we'll ask Phil to come on and tell us about Pinfest as well.
Yeah,
Phil, if you're
absolutely.
up for it, let us know. Yeah, mate, Scott and I are going to do a kind of a live broadcast for at least 5 minutes before we give up on the technology from Pinfest later on this year. Anyway, we've yacked on long enough. Scott, thank you.
Yep.
Everyone who watches and gives us feedback. Look, feedback's a gift. You know, if we're rubbish or we're doing something that you don't like, tell us about it. We won't be offended. We're not here to make money. We're not here to win awards. No. It's just two bozos on a mic talking to each other, right? With the occasional guest bozo, right? We're you know, we want this to be something that people want to listen to. Otherwise, why would we do it, right? But you know, we enjoyed doing this. It's a bit of fun. Especially when Scott says Godzilla is the worst game he's ever played. You know, remember, Scott said.
I said that apparently exactly. I just said
game he's ever played. Pile in on the comments on that. Tell him how wrong he is. Life is good. Look, when we get back from TPF, I do want to give Scott a bit of time to talk about his retheme because he posted some pictures of it. And it looks.
It hit a lot of traction on the on Facebook. Actually, I was surprised at how many likes I hit and the reviews it's had.
Absolutely out of this world. You know, piece of work that you and Holly and some helpers have done. Mate, it's staggeringly good.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thanks.
Fine, Luke. Thanks for watching. We'll probably be back late March after TPF. So look, play pinball, go to a venue, spend some money in the venue, keep pinball venues running, and you know, and pinball's all about enjoying it with friends. So if you've got a few games, invite your mates round, have a bit of a laugh, and you know, remember that Scott said Godzilla is the worst game he ever played. Thanks, guys. Bye bye.
Thanks all.